everybody, ED 200 class. My name is Amanda Larson, and I'm going to be doing the report on W.E.B DuBois. His actual name was William Edward Regard DuBois. I think it's DuBois. DuBois. I think it's DuBois. And he was an encouraging leader against racism during his lifetime. He was born February 23rd, 1868 in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. He was actually born in a mostly white community. It was about 36 black, 35-ish black to 5,000 white. And this caused him to be very inward, very, what's the word, withdrawn into himself. He could feel, it was said that the community wasn't super racist, but I guess he could feel the difference within the people and how they were treated. And this is what kind of sparked his interest in racism movements and studying his people. He actually became a researcher of Negro culture and the way that they're educated, the way that they respond to problem and conflict, the way that they act in general, how they raise their families, if they have families, and things like that. He went to high school, and he was actually a very smart student. He was an outstanding academic performer, and this led him to want to go to Harvard, which is really cool. He actually didn't have the funding to go to Harvard directly, so he went to Fisk College for 3 years, and the 3 years that he was there, he spent the 2 summers being kind of, I guess you'd call it a student teacher, and there he really was able to learn firsthand, because it was in the South, the poverty levels of African Americans and the way their culture was devastated due to those things. And this is what really hit him, that's truly what he wanted to do, was study, and particularly study African American culture. He did finally get into Harvard after he graduated from Fisk. He was accepted, and was accepted as a junior. And he did graduate from there, and immediately after he wanted to go to get his doctorate. He was a very driven man, and he did get his doctorate, and he was actually the first black man to ever graduate from Harvard, which is a really big deal, really cool. So, he got his first real teaching job at Wimberton in Ohio, and he was paid $800 a year, which is really small for now. Throughout the rest of his life, on top of his teaching, he dedicated his life to racism, to the act of racism, and abolishing it from America. He believed that America was a really good country. We just needed to, change a few things, and racism was one of them, and he believed that it had no place in a free country. He was quoted saying, "We want full manhood suffrage, and we want it now. We are men. We want to be treated as men, and we shall win." He knew what he wanted, and he knew how to get it, and he was very strong in his beliefs, and he wasn't afraid what anybody thought of him, and he knew that what he was thinking was right, and he knew that freedom was right, and he went out and he said what he said, and he had no problem with what anybody said, which I really like about him. It's really cool. He was actually one of the founders of the NAACP. Ironically, he didn't actually totally agree with the foundations of the NAACP, but he knew overall it was a good thing, and so he decided to go ahead and be a part of it. He was actually also worked for the U.S. government, and he was the Peace Information Center. He worked in the chairman for the Peace Information Center, and actually while he worked there, he demanded the outlawing of atomic weapons. The U.S. did not like this, and they actually registered him as an agent of foreign principle, which is not good. After this happened, he was very distraught and upset, and I think hurt by the U.S. government that they would do that to him, and so he moved to Ghana and became an ex-citizen of the United States. When he moved there, he was welcomed with open arms, and he actually helped the government write the Encyclopedia Africana, African Encyclopedia, and he loved it there. He died there. He actually died on August 27th, 1963, which I think is really interesting, also ironically in his life, that it was actually the eve of the March on Washington. It seems that always happens to the famous guys. Something ironic always happens and never gets to see what really goes on. So he died on the eve of the March of Washington D.C., but I'm sure looking down now, he's very proud. It's a very changed America. He was a big believer in civil rights, obviously, and that's one of the biggest things you can see in our lives today that he has done. He has helped with the civil rights movement and all that it accomplished. Him and Martin Luther King Jr. were kind of buds, which is really cool. And something that Martin Luther King Jr. that I said that he said that I really liked is history cannot ignore DuBois because history has to reflect truth. And Dr. DuBois was a tireless explorer and a gifted discoverer of social truths. His singular greatness lay in his quest for truth and of his own people, which I think is really cool. Like I said earlier, he was seeking the truth, and he knew what was to be true, no matter what anybody thought. He knew it was true. Continuing the quote, there are very few scholars who concern themselves with honest study of the black man, and he sought to fill that immense void. In that time, people didn't care about African Americans, and they believed them to be all these silly things, and they believed them to have evolved from other animals, or they even did this study about how their head size is different and it means all this other stuff, but he was actually interested in the honest study of them to find the real truth, and I really respect that about him. And something that we can really learn from him is that we should stand up for what we believe in, kind of like we sort of do now as an LDS member of the church. I'm from a place that has no members, so I really did have to stand up for what I believed in, just like he did, and I think it's really important that we do that, and to really know that what we were doing is right, and what he was doing was right. And this is a really fun research topic to do. I really enjoyed learning about him. I had never actually heard of him before, so it was really cool to learn something new and to learn about him. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.